Well, the co-main event, right? We had Brian Ortega against Aljamain Sterling. So this ended up being a catchweight fight, right? Because Ortega had troubles with making weight, which is not the first time, right? There's been bouts that have been cancelled, other catchweight fights because of the whole weight cutting issue. And I do believe before the Lopez fight, Ortega had said he was going to move up to lightweight, right? But then there was beef with Lopez, so then that happened, right? But yeah, I do believe Ortega had been talking about moving to lightweight. So it was interesting that this fight was happening. I thought, this will be a good fight. But he was just like, I thought he was moving up a weight class. And, he didn't. But technically he did because he missed weight. Right? And I think the big thing with the weight is as well, does a fighter actually make a concerted effort to cut that weight? Right? That's always the big one. You know what I mean? Because there's missing weight, but going, fuck it, we'll just take the financial hit, but we get the win bonus, so it doesn't really matter. And then there's trying your hardest and missing weight. And sometimes you do wonder, right? You do wonder. And it also is a fuck quiz for the other fighter because they've already started to do all the steps to cut. So yeah, they obviously, they get to rehydrate, eat a little, but they've already put their body through shit to try and get down to, the contracted weight, right? But that all aside, right, coming into this fight, I did think Sterling would have the advantage here. And he did, right? I think when you look at it, Ortega probably has more power. But, I mean, you could say, Ortega, that's his normal weight class, right? And obviously, he can't fight at that weight class, right? So, thinking Ortega has the natural power is, no stretch of the imagination. But Sterling is just unorthodox in his striking style. And I figured that could be the difference here. And Sterling was just landing his jab at will. You know what I mean? Like, it was a pretty dominant affair, really, because Ortega just, for whatever reason, did not throw. Like, there was the odd shot, but nothing consistent. I don't know what it was. Did he come into the fight injured? Like, Ortega, you do wonder, because I feel he does, if he is injured, he's not probably going to take the fight. Right? And, obviously, no one comes in 100%. I'm saying injured, right? Not just a slight tweak here and a nick there. No, I'm saying like injured. But because that's the only reason you can think why he's just so inactive. He was pushing forward, but did not want to commit to, a long combination of shots. Right? There was the odd kick. There's 1-2s. That's it. That's it. And so Sterling was just able to move and land. Yeah, at one point, Herb Dean did like stop and be like, "Oh, you've got to engage," which I did think was a little cheeky, right? Because you know Sterling was clearly up. I mean, well, at that point, I think it's probably 3-4 rounds to nothing. He's clearly up, and so it's just like you're not going to stand in front of someone. So moving and landing, you can't fault it, right? Now, obviously, everyone wants a Holloway Gaethje situation, right? Everyone wants that. Right? That is just that epic craziness. But as you see from that sequence, someone gonna get knocked out. Now, if you're trying to move up the rankings, you're trying to position yourself for a title shot, why would you risk getting knocked out when you are so far ahead in a fight? It makes no sense, right? That's why it was so crazy when Holloway does it, because it's just like you're winning. Right, you take the, you know what I mean? And when he knocked out Gaethje, when you look at it, Gaethje was like this close to landing on Holloway. So it's just the risk is insane. The risk is insane. And when you're up, why do it? Why do it? It makes no sense. Right? So I did think Herb Dean was in the wrong for doing that. And, you know, you can't really fault Aljamain's strategy. Now, I did think he could have gone for more takedowns because he did pretty much get it down to the ground kind of easy. Right? So you kind of do think he probably could have taken, you know, attempted more on that front. And I think it's the jab is all good, but put something else behind it occasionally. Not all the time, but occasionally put something behind it. Because when he did, he was landing. You know? So, I mean, if you're going to criticize, those are the big things, right? Probably more takedowns. Because when the ground and pound was horrible. Oh my God. Like landing those huge shots. Like, oh, fuck that. You know what I mean? So he's landing good round and pound. And he was getting it down. So I'm just like, yo, you were doing well in that front. So yeah, do more of that shit. You know? Do more of that shit. But other than that, Sterling, yeah, he clearly won the fight. Clearly won the fight. He's not going to get the next title fight, right? Because obviously that's Lerone Murphy. Possibly, you know, maybe you do... well, if Lerone Murphy wins, right, maybe you do Lerone v. Aljo in Jamaica, right? You take UFC to Jamaica and you do that fight there. Maybe that's what you do. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I do think, yeah, like he was the bantamweight champion. He defended the belt a lot. He's always been down to fight. So when you look at it like that and you consider the amount of title opportunities Frankie Edgar got, Poirier got, you know what I mean? There's people do get them up. So it wouldn't be a crazy thing to give Aljo a shot. You know what I mean? So yeah, maybe you do the Lerone, Volkanovski, and then early 2026, you do Aljo against the winner in Jamaica. You know what I mean? Yeah, take the UFC to Jamaica. Why not? Be a bit of fun, right? But that now takes us to our main event of the evening.